The summer holidays have just started, and I've been speaking to a lot of my students and explaining to them why it's important that they work as hard as they can and they make use of these holidays, especially those who are going into year 11, the year in which they'll be taking their GCSE exams. So, what I said to them is if you can do put the hours in the summer holidays. So what it will do is will take the pressure off you in year 11. So I'm not saying try to cover every single subject, every single topic, but whatever work you can do and you can cover. Um, like say if you wanted to cover chemistry, there will be topics that obviously you haven't covered, but you've got YouTube and there's plenty of quality material, and you can, if you spend the time, you can learn a lot of content, obviously, as well as going over what you have studied and revising it. There's a lot of resources, a lot of access to different platforms online, but it is a case of spending that time in the holidays. If you just take it as 6 weeks off, then you're not serving your best interests, because in year 11 you will have to cover that content, and before you know it, it will be exam time. You'll be in April, May, June, and you won't be able to cover everything. So you want to go in to year 11 with some momentum, revise all of the year 10 content and look at the year 11 content and start to look at the exam papers. Even if you can't do all of them at this stage, at least you will get some exposure and get an idea of how you will be examined at the end of year 11. So I'm not saying just work, 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 because you do have to obviously enjoy the holidays, but it's about getting the balance right. So if you think of two buckets, so the top bucket here is what you do to enjoy yourself. So these are things which will give you instant gratification. Straight away, you can think of things like Netflix, TikTok, PlayStation, chocolate ice cream, pizza. So if we look at things like healthy eating, then if you go for junk foods, they will satisfy you temporarily. You get a good feeling out of that nice chocolate bar, but you're not doing yourself any favors. I'm not saying don't eat chocolate, because obviously it's okay to have it in moderation, and it is totally fine to enjoy yourself. But at the same time, if you're just filling up the enjoyment bucket, you're not going to get a sense of satisfaction, which is a deeper level of satisfaction, which you can only get from things like working hard for 2 years, getting good GCSE grades, getting into a competitive university course, or learning a language, learning how to program, learning how to edit videos professionally, learning how to make YouTube videos. These are things that take more effort. You need to be patient. It's not a case of just put Netflix on, press play, and watch it. So the things that are in the enjoyment bucket, they're not going to give you that same level of long-term satisfaction. We just give you quick joy for a short time, and nobody's ever going to sit there and say, okay, I watched Netflix for 3,000 hours. Nobody's going to get a certificate for that. There's no prizes for eating a ton of chocolate ice cream. So thinking about in this summer holidays, you want to get the balance right. So I'm not saying don't do any of the enjoyment stuff. Of course, you have to going out with your friends, enjoying. So obviously, even within the enjoyment bucket, there's different levels of entertainment, and you can compare them and um, get the balance right. But in terms of your future, so obviously you're studying, reading. Now, it could be reading stuff that's related to the curriculum, but it doesn't have to be. You might be reading about politics, something completely unrelated to your studies, and that's fine. You're still developing yourself. Um, so these things will benefit you in the future. So obviously, things like healthy eating. Um, you have to think about the future as the present, because this present moment is the future that you had imagined. So think of yourself 5 years ago, and where you were. So this is the future. You are the future version of that person. So in September, when you go and start year 11, that is a future version of you. So I want the future version of you. I want you to look after that person. Um, and if you don't do anything in the summer holidays, that person, which is you, in the future, is not going to be in a good position. So you're not doing yourself any favors. So think about the future, whether it's tomorrow, or next week, or next month, or 5 years' time, 10 years' time, because if you look at most people, and especially if it's successful people, if you go back 10 years, then no doubt they will have taken some action, which has ultimately led to where they are. People don't just become successful with the magic wand. So the decisions that you make today are going to affect your future, whether it's short-term future. So if you decided to go to a restaurant and overeat, and the future, i.e. tomorrow you wake up with food poisoning and you're vomiting, then you didn't do the best thing for yourself. In the same way, if somebody is a middle-aged person or an older person, if they're just eating pizza every day, junk food, they're not looking after their diet, they're not exercising, then they are actually letting themselves down, because at some point in the future they will have to go to more hospital appointments, perhaps have surgery. You've got all sorts of different diseases out there: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks. So if they've been too busy filling the enjoyment bucket and not thinking about the future bucket, then the future, in the future bit, they may not have that chance to put anything into the enjoyment bucket. So the moral of the story here is not to lecture you and to say, oh, don't do anything that you can enjoy in the summer holidays. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm saying track the work that you do, put the hours in. Obviously, that will vary from student to student. Some people, it's achievable for them to do 6 hours a day. For some people, it might be a better target of 2 hours. So whatever you feel is right for yourself, you set that target, you write it down each day. At the end of the week, you'll have a total number of hours. And that's by monitoring and tracking. It's a bit like using the Fitbit to count your steps. You become more aware of your actions. So if you can use these 6 weeks, it will definitely help you as you go into year 11.